Bonsoir, mesdames, mesdemoiselles, messieurs. Bienvenue sur ce Tuning Up avec David et Ignace. Aujourd'hui, nous avons un invité fabuleux. Aujourd'hui, c'est mardi soir, donc Tuning Up avec chef Mavro. Une excellente soirée en perspective. David, bonsoir.
Hello. You are indeed. May I?
Please.
Welcome. It's Tuesday, so you're joining us at 7:30 for Tuning Up with Iggy and Dave and our special guest this evening, Chef Mavro. So thrilled to have you here with us. We are still at the Hawai'i Theater Center, but we have relocated upstairs for a more intimate evening together. We're here in, what room is this, Iggy?
This is the General Fred and Mary Y&D room, special room.
And when we have performances, do you know what happens in this room?
I know that during the break, people gather here, socialize, drink, eat, be merry.
Yeah, this is one of our donor rooms that we use for the members of the Hawai'i Theater Center and for the donors of the Hawaii Symphony Orchestra. So what better place to entertain our guests this evening?
Yes, so, sorry, I'll go back to English.
Okay. I don't know how to speak English.
Chef Mavro, but your actual real last name is longer than that.
Yes, my name is Mavro Thalasitis, which is in Greek mean the man from the Black Sea. But I'm French. I don't speak Greek beside my name, and I was born in Marseille.
Yeah, it's interesting because you think of Europeans, and I'm not going to get political or whatever, but you think of people in Europe. You think of people in France, you think of all the French people having been there for hundreds and hundreds of years. But the truth is, there are immigrants in every country you go to.
Like here.
So, in France, you had Portuguese, you have a lot of Portuguese, you have a lot of...
Especially in Marseille.
In Marseille.
Marseille is very, very cosmopolitan.
In my hometown, Grenoble, you have a lot of Italians.
Yeah.
You have, of course, from the northern African part.
Close to the frontier.
Were there many Greek people?
Oh yes, yeah. It's a Greek colony in France, in Marseille. Armenian, Greek, Portuguese, Spanish, Italian, of course, and North Africa.
Of course. So I want to say kind of a disclaimer. Every week we usually have a professional musical guest. And the reason why we have Chef Mavro is because you've been so involved in fundraising for us. You're being a big advocate of all worthy causes, the Hawaii Symphony, but also many causes, the Hawaii Public Radio, and so many events. So it's a pleasure to have you. For myself, I don't know about you, David, but so I feel like I have the license to make a comment that is musical when we have a professional musician. Tonight, I don't know what's going to happen because we may talk about food, cuisine, haute cuisine. I might say, I don't like this food, but what gives me the right to say so because I'm not a connoisseur, right? David, how do you feel about that?
Well, I think that we get to talk about food as an audience perspective. And I think that we in classical music, those of us who have the insider baseball, sometimes we forget what it's like to be on the other side. And I have some questions tonight that I always like to ask a chef. As I arrived tonight, I was, slamming a burger from the Daily across the street here. A long day of meetings, and so I like to ask some questions about what maybe you like to eat when you're outside of the kitchen, just relaxing, what you like to drink, those sorts of things. But we'll get into that. But I have to, Iggy, you said that the chef wasn't musical here. And professional. Okay, I'm glad you clarified that here because I have to ask, and we talked about this a little bit before the show started here, but I understand that thanks to Iggy, you gave a musical performance at an event for the Hawaii Symphony Orchestra. How did this happen? Have you ever forgiven Iggy?
No, this was the most embarrassing moment in my life, and I get totally screwed by this guy in my right. Then he told me, you have to sing, we are going to sing the Les Feuilles Mortes together. I say, well, okay. And I start, and he didn't put one note, nothing, for the whole thing. So I went from the beginning to the end by myself.
No, but that's not true because my wife Grace was on the piano, right?
Yeah, it's true.
And then you heard Chef, and he was in tune, right? Say tune.
Here it goes again. Yeah, this is how it starts.
Anyway, so Dave, you like to ask how it
all began. But before I ask this question, I want to encourage all of you joining us here live tonight to ask your questions this evening to Chef, to Iggy and I. The relationship between music and food. Would love to take your questions on that, and you can do so by texting the phone number on the bottom of your screen. Iggy, can you give us the... Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Well done. And we will take those throughout the evening here. But the question that I like to ask is, take us back to the beginning. And I'll let you decide what the beginning is.
So, the beginning of my career?
Sure.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
It's going to take about 3 hours now.
Great.
Just kidding. And in fact, it's a long story, and I'm going to try to make as short as possible. I was 16 on a family dinner. My grandfather used to have a farm on Aix-en-Provence. Countryside.
Near Marseille.
Near Marseille. And it was a family dinner like we do in France with 20 people minimum. And I decided to cook one dish like everybody in my family was cooking something. And I realized that it was a success, my first success. And my father was a big engineer, working 24/7, and I approached him. My father was Greek, was French, but born in Greece. I told him, Dad, I enjoy very much cooking for 20 people, and it looks like I make people happy. So it's what I want to do for a living. And I get almost killed. So this is not a job. I go to school, and so I went to school. And of course, I was in school anyway. And I became an engineer like him.
Really?
Yeah, but he was in my blood. I mean, I couldn't. And I create my own engineering business on the south in Marseille. And one day I said, no way, I don't want to do that. Suddenly, I was 29, and I start from scratch. And it took me longer to become a cook and a chef than to become an engineer. Become an engineer, it takes 4 or 5 years, you are an engineer. To become a cook, it took me all my life. I'm not sure I know how to cook yet.
But when you learn how to cook as a youngster, is there a method, is there a technique, or you just like, it's trial and error?
No.
Do it by experience.
Okay. I had the chance to be quite successful on engineering, so I was making a ton of money, more money than I never made in my life, and so I was dining on the best restaurant in France and in a world, and spending a fortune in a restaurant, and thinking, crazy me, I can do that. Yeah, it's like I can sing the Les Feuilles Mortes.
You can.
No, I can't. and I realized that this is a job. So of course, I opened my own business before being a chef, And since the money was not a big deal for me, I was the best chef one of the best chefs in the country, working with me, etc. And I decided that this is really a serious job. So I started as an apprentice in my own restaurant.
Really?
And I said to my chef, in the kitchen, you are the boss. Outside the kitchen, I'm the boss. And it took me forever to put something decent on the plate. And I realized this is really a professional job, really. And so, my restaurant was seasonal. So during the winter time, we used to close because Cassis is a resort. And my restaurant was on the water, one of the most beautiful restaurants. Still, La Presqu'île in Cassis, my son owned the restaurant. And during the winter time, instead of to go on vacation, I used to go to work with the 3 Michelin star in France. Trois Gros, Alain Sandorens, Gérard Vier, you name it. And they give me the virus to do the best or nothing.
Yeah.
And so I continue on this way. But it took me about 6 years to go to my chef to say, you know what, I don't need you anymore. And I took over. Yeah. So it was a big deal.
You're ready to take over. And then when we move on to the next chapter, that's where maybe we should announce the wine and maybe the trivia question, Dave?
Yeah, we can do that. Well, our wine this evening is sponsored again by our friends here in Chinatown, Hasser Wine. This evening, our winner will be receiving a Faila Pinot Noir. Should you say this instead of me? I feel like we picked the wrong person.
Well, I'm not sure what that means because it's a proper name, but it's Fela.
There you go. This is a Pinot Noir from Willamette Valley.
Willamette, which is one of the best, to me, the best wine region in the country.
In Southern Oregon.
Yeah.
I trust you on that.
Everybody says, oh, I thought it was Napa. It was Napa Valley. No, it's not Napa Valley. It's Oregon and Willamette Valley, especially for the Pinot Noir.
Yeah, well, we'll have a lot of answers for this one, I hope, here.
So here's a trivia question. I hope I can phrase it correctly. Before coming to Hawaii, Chef Mavro was working in Denver, and at the restaurant in Denver, he earned the AAA 5-diamond label. A hotel here in Hawaii came to recruit Chef Mavro. And Chef Mavro at first was somewhat reluctant, but they persevered, this hotel. We want to know, here's your trivia question, which hotel snatched Chef Mavro so that he could come to their main restaurant and have the restaurant and hotel earn the long-sought AAA 5-diamond label. So please name the hotel where Chef Mavro worked first upon his arrival from Colorado.
Colorado? How did we get to Colorado?
Yes, we skipped that part.
Okay,
Chef.
all right, yes.
So tell us about Marseille to Denver.
Okay. Well, this is a very bloody divorce with my first wife. Then she tried to kill me, and I escaped. And I say, okay, I left everything. It's why my son now owns my restaurants. Okay. I say restaurant because it's 4 restaurants. And I escaped, and I found myself first in LA.
Okay.
I say, with my job, I can survive anywhere. Mm-hmm. So I went to LA. LA was not too much for me because I remember when I first arrived in LA in '85, everybody was talking about French nouvelle cuisine, American nouvelle, California nouvelle, and everybody was eating Caesar salad and Chateaubriand Béarnaise. I'm serious. which I never did a Béarnaise in my professional life in France. And the first Béarnaise I did was in Los Angeles, and I was a chef, and I say to everybody, oh, let me do it, and it didn't come up. So one of my cooks, I said, okay, get out of here, I'm going to do it. And because I'm a chef from Nouvelle Cuisine. And so LA was not too much for me, I realize. And somebody from the owner of Chateau Pyrénées
It's the name of the restaurant.
the restaurant, found me in Los Angeles, hired me to take over Chateau Pyrénées, where I get, it was not 5 diamond, it was 5-star. 5-star from the Denver Post, which was the ultimate, because the food writer on the Denver Post was from New York, was the ultimate recognition. And of course, I was ready to say, a hotel in Hawaii, heard about that. And the general manager came to Chateau Pyrénées for 1 week every night, and incognito. And after that, he called me, and he said, you know, I have a restaurant, I'm not going to mention the name, and in Honolulu, and I'm looking for a chef, so I would like to know if you're interested. And I said, well, I've been in Denver for 3 years, maybe it's enough, and Hawaii, I was not sure where Hawaii was located, but it's okay. Hawaii looks nice, and he told me it's a hotel. I said, I don't do hotel. I don't work for hotel. I'm sorry. I'm too individual. I do what I like, and I'm going to drive you crazy. So I say no. And of course, he accepted. He went back to Honolulu and sent me a pre-contract with a number. And when, in Denver, you don't make too much money. When I saw the number, I said, well, I can do an exception. And here I am.
Wow.
This was 88,
Yes, and so we are looking for the name of that hotel.
We have a correct answer, so feel free to carry on with the story.
Yes, please.
Name...
Chef Mavro, I think we have a winner. So
okay,
what hotel was that?
The hotel was Halekulani Hotel. It took me about 3 or 4 years to know how to pronounce it, and I'm not sure I pronounce right.
And the restaurant?
And the restaurant was La Mer, of course.
La Mer at the Halekulani.
I spent 8 years, and beautiful years, between La Mer, and I have 2 jobs. I was the chef of La Mer, and also the executive chef of the Halekulani. So I have 2 jobs, and I spent 8 years with the Halekulani.
So, in parallel with music, you have an executive director and you have the musicians. So I get to do the nice part, which is perform the music and convey a musical message to the audience. The executive director is doing all the, I wouldn't call it dirty job, but the job that's you don't get recognized for. It's making the calls, Zoom calls. I guess 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. or more. You have to, have all those committee meetings. So when you're executive chef and the chef of La Mer, did you feel like at times you had to worry so much about, paperwork or, I don't know, things that are not about cooking that you couldn't really enjoy it, or did you actually make sure to tell the hotel, I cannot be just the executive chef, I have to be able to cook as well?
Exactly. So it was exactly, first the hotel told me, there is no way, because this didn't exist before. Now it starts to be. But it was the first time, there is no way you can take care of the whole kitchens, because it's not only one, There's many kitchens, and La Mer is impossible. And I say, well, I'll keep everything. I keep La Mer, and we stay friends. I'm not interested. And finally, he came back about a few months after. He said, okay, I accept. So I have two jobs. Your comparison is interesting, but I will compare more the executive chef as a music director, because he has to make sure to put everybody on the same tune and to make sure he gets something from a group. And La Mer, where the chef of La Mer is a virtuose. And he's a concertmaster. And I'm sorry for the comparison.
I'd be happy to be a chef at La Mer.
Yeah.
And I need that. I remember, you know, when you work as an executive chef on a hotel, even it's one of the most beautiful hotels in the world. Alikulani is fantastic. It's my favorite hotel in the world, and it's so much BS all day. Then sometimes even sometime in the morning I was totally fed up. And you know what I used to do? Because La Mer works only at night. It's no lunch. I used to escape my office, go to La Mer, take a case of artichoke, and turning my artichoke in the kitchen just to forget the craziness politic of the hotel. And one day, the general manager, who hired me before, didn't know what he hired me before, and he found me. He told me, Mavro, I'm looking for you for hours. What are you doing? I said, I turned artichoke. And he told me, I don't pay you to cook. Oh my God, I almost killed him. I said, I think, sir, I think you have the wrong person. And but we are even after so many years, he went back to his country, and we are still very friends. But we have our time together.
Yeah. And we miss the Halikulani very much. So and Dave, these days, wear so many hats. He can be the music director and the artistic advisor. I mean, we do have Joan Falletta, but Dave is our in-person, on location artistic guy. So wearing so many hats these days.
So you have two hats also.
Well, 2 or 3 at the moment, but it keeps life interesting. And with all the variety that you've had in your career, what should I'm almost afraid to ask, what caused the next step after the Halikulani in your career?
Okay, after 8 years, I think that the Four Seasons in Maui, Wai'ilea, which is a beautiful hotel, approached me. And again, I think I don't know. It's not a money problem. It was 8 years, like 3 years in Denver, 8 years with Halikulani, and I didn't know how comfortable I was with Halikulani, and I accepted to take over the Four Seasons with 2 jobs: fine dining restaurant, Seasons, and executive chef. And there was not the same story, because Halikulani is one hotel. You know then what you deal with. The Four Seasons is a corporation, and this is not for me. So after 3 years, I learned a lot about management, and I spent my time about cooking, because it was difficult to cook on a corporation. Yeah. Very difficult.
This is the part where I think we need to do a shout out to our good friends Paul and Kumi, who live in Vancouver. So I'm sure they're tuning in, which leads us to the next part. So you do prestigious restaurants in hotels, but at some point in your career in Hawaii, you want to be more independent.
Yeah, in fact, we didn't talk about that. I came to LA to open my restaurant in LA, and I realized that I'm not ready for America. I mean, it's too complicated. It's not. And I had the feeling like at this time, now it's much better. But at this time, it's more, and I was not sure people they know what they want, especially in LA. In LA, I'm not sure, but music maybe it's the same thing. I don't know if they know what they want. I mean, and it was very superficial, and so I decided no way I can open my restaurant and be successful, no way, and so I decided to survive the way I could. I went to Denver, but I came to this country to open my own, not to be a chef in a hotel. I guess the hotel used to pay me enough money. Then I spent 11 years to work for a thing I didn't like before. I didn't want to work for hotel. I spent 11 years. And, but of course I was ready. I think I make enough money to start Chef Mavro at the corner of King Street and Macaulay. And I remember when I decided to open at the corner of King Street and Macaulay, which is not a very prestigious corner. And everybody said, how come you don't go to Waikiki? I said, I spent 8 years in Waikiki. It's enough. I want to work with local people. I want to talk to my guests. I want to have a feedback. This is important. When you talk with tourists and from all over the world, you don't have feedback. They come, they eat, they leave, and maybe they are going to come back in 20 years. You know, and so to me it was very important to have the contact with local clientele. And this I opened Chef Mavro 23 years ago. 23 years ago, and I have a fantastic time, fantastic.
And this is another place that earned you the AAA 5 diamonds.
So I get my.
Also, that's where you got your James Beard Best Chef.
Yeah, I think I was lucky. I get everything a chef can dream about.
James Beard is like the Oscar of movies.
Yeah,
I know. I feel like we need to. Yeah, that's.
So I get James Beard, which is maybe the things that I value the most in my whole life, including what I might get in France. And James Beard, which I was suddenly the best chef in the West,
Pacific
Northwest of the country. Wow! and you have to know that there's only 3 chefs in
Hawaii,
in the state of Hawaii, to get this recognition. The first one was Roy Yamaguchi. Then I met in Los Angeles. When I was in Los Angeles.
Really?
He's an outstanding chef. The second one was Alain Wong, and the third one, the last one, is me.
So the reason why I mentioned Paul and Kumi is because Paul was very instrumental in helping you having that founding this restaurant. But I want to skip a little bit ahead because that is where you were able to train some of your protege, that restaurant. And that protege actually took over a couple of years ago. Can you tell us about this transition?
Yeah. Okay. Number one, you have to understand that a chef is as good as people working with him are good. And so I was lucky also to have always with me very talented chef de cuisine. In an independent restaurant, we don't call executive chef, we call chef de cuisine. And in fact, they were kind of my sous chef, but the title was chef de cuisine. And Jeremy, we work almost together. He left, he came back. He left to go hotel, and he came back. He said, "You are right. I didn't like it." So I hired him back, of course. And about 2 years ago, I decided, okay, it's enough. I miss my family, I miss my children, I miss my grandchildren. So I'm going to go, big decision. I'm going to go back to France. So I stay 1 year with him to make sure everything was under control. And he's very talented. You can go to Chef Mavro restaurant. He keeps the name and the legacy, and he's no change. He's he's even better maybe. He's very talented, and I decided to leave. And what happened? In March last year, I was confined. And
I think not just you, but a lot of people.
Yeah, us too.
Yeah,
Us too.
I was so ready to leave. I think it was only me. So with my wife Donna, we decided we couldn't leave. And after a few weeks, we realized that we never enjoy Hawaii. We never enjoy Honolulu. She's a very busy PR in public relations, and I was busy, crazy with my job, and we took Honolulu for granted, and we didn't realize that what the view we have for our apartment, which is totally outstanding. You can see from the punch bowl to the mountain, to the Tantalus, 180 degrees is gorgeous, and we never look at. And we went to Kaimana Beach,
Yeah.
and to enjoy a swim. Even we went to Arizona Memorial. We never did things like that, and we start to enjoy Hawaii so much. But of course, we didn't have a choice. Then we say to each other, you know what? We are home here, and we are going to stay here. So you are going to have me, I think, for the rest of my life.
Better for us. I don't understand. You maybe. I'm sure you will visit France when it's safer.
Yeah, of course.
But come back. That's the nice part.
Oh, today we were already. I think we are almost ready to buy a ticket to spend a few months.
So, sorry, you were talking about Chef Jeremy Shigekane of Chef Mavro now. Tell us about mentoring, because this is, we all are mentors, professional musicians, and we're trying to pass on the legacy of what we learn, and hopefully our students, they may not become professional musicians, they may not become professional chefs, but we're trying to instill them and just making sure that our future is in good hands. What is it that you learn from Marseille and the mainland and Hawaii? Are there common things that you try to teach the young chef these days, or do you teach them about technique, or do you teach them about the personality of your cuisine?
Yeah, so you have to realize it's two cases. One is a chef de cuisine. Chef de cuisine is already a professional. He's not an amateur. So he comes to execute your recipe as much as a perfection. And this is a thing. After that, he's also in charge of the kitchen, of the cooks. So you have to not only to teach the chef de cuisine how to execute recipes, your recipes, and also to transmit also to the cook and the whole kitchen. So it's not that easy. But I'm lucky because in our category of restaurant, I think if you work for a coffee shop, it's a little bit, it's more difficult because you don't have this motivation. Because I remember one of my cooks used to make a mistake. It was very difficult to blame him because he was already ready to kill himself. He was so destroyed. Yeah, you almost say, okay. So it's a kind of relation, very interesting communication where they take your knowledge, you don't give your knowledge. They steal your knowledge. They take your knowledge like a sponge, and it's very, very nice. Yeah.
I think about, I've I've never thought about this until you're describing this way the kitchen works, and how it relates to, how it relates to, send your questions in, how it relates to a symphony orchestra. Because if you have a chef working for you who has a little bit of too much flair of their own, how would that relate to if you have someone in your section, Iggy, that just has a very different artistic approach to how you play a piece? And what does that do for a restaurant, and what does it do for an orchestra?
You mentioned it before when you were describing a chef d'orchestre, a maestro, a conductor, where we are a team and we have to, not to sound so commercial, but we have to come up with a product that is very cohesive and united. And you also have personalities in music, sensitive personalities. And it sounds like from what you're saying that in the cooking world, you also have personalities, very sensitive characters sometimes. And so it's about trying to manage all those players in order to be one team and create one unique dish.
Okay, it's a kind of a relation of mutual respect. And if somebody comes to work with me, is to do what I do. If he doesn't want to do what I do, he can go work somewhere else. And is to do, is a case of Jeremy. Jeremy tried 3 or 4 times, I think, I forgot, to work with me. And it was never the right time. So every time when he came from New York or from San Francisco to say, Chef Mavro, I want to work with you, I didn't have really an opening. And one day he came and I had an opening. So he was very happy with. I told you he left to go to work on a hotel, and he didn't like it. He came back. And so I think when he was doing what are my recipes. But now I can see I left, and he cannot continue to do my recipes for the rest of his life. And I look at what he posts on Facebook and on Instagram, more on Instagram, and I can see he was ready. I knew it. But he starts to express himself. And what he's doing is beautiful. Yeah. And okay, now he says, I'm not here anymore. It's his time. And just do it. So he kept Chef Mavro restaurant, he kept my legacy. But already, after more than 1 year now, he starts to I know you.
Yes, I have been.
You experienced the restaurant.
Yeah. It was a wonderful, always wonderful experience to be there. But I wanted to ask you, so we have musical composers, and sometimes they live where they're born, and they train, and they spend a lot of their time where, in Paris or Salzburg or Prague, and sometimes they go on a trip. And so like Dvorak, whose I think father was a butcher, was cutting sausage. But anyway, Dvorak spent some time in the US and got influenced by some American musical styles. So you've been in many, many places. Have you absorbed a lot of the local styles where you've been? And especially in Hawaii, I know you mentioned it a little bit, the local flavors, and not just the flavors, but working with the local people in the industry.
This, to me, was what you say was very easy. I didn't have to change anything because all my life I work with the local market. Mm-hmm. I work with fresh ingredients from local market. I remember Chef Mavro in Marseille and La Presqu'île in Cassis, where high-end restaurants are still high-end restaurant, but I was maybe the only high-end restaurant at this time. It was 38 years ago. I was in a high-end working with local ingredients. In France, as soon as you say Michelin star, not now, but in my time, you was cream, butter, kind of Burgundy style of cuisine.
Rich.
Paris, and
Rich.
yeah, rich, heavy. And myself, I believe only on fresh olive oil, tomato, and vegetable from the backyard, and so even in Provence, and all my wine list, instead of to have only Bordeaux, Burgundy, Alsace, I used to have all the selection of wine from Provence, which are very interesting. People say they know that, but I'm in Provence, I'm cooking Provence, and you are going to drink Provence. You know, and so after that, I moved to Los Angeles. And Los Angeles, I was doing California Nouvelle, huh? And already was the beginning of molecular. So I always cook whatever no other restaurant cooked. And I was already doing molecular. I came to La Mer, same thing. La Mer, before my time, was a very classic French restaurant. It was the name La Mer. And I start to work with what I found on the local market, with all the fish from the ocean, and all the vegetable, and the ginger, and lemongrass, and all the flavor, mango, and you name it, and from Hawaii. So if you are looking for, I can say, if you are looking for French cuisine, don't go to Chef Mavro. Even now, you know, you are going to eat an interpretation of the beautiful bounty of local ingredients.
And so you love to work with the fishermen, the farmers.
Exactly, and we create, maybe, I don't know if you know that, but I'm the member of HRC, Hawaii Regional Cuisine, where we decide to promote the local fishermen, the local farmer, ranchers, and all the products from Hawaii.
So also a couple more people that we need to give a shout out to is just about a year ago, end of February, early March, you were so gracious with your skills to help a fundraising dinner for the Hawaii Symphony. It was part of our silent auction gala that Mitch and Bambi and Jean and Ken purchased. And so you came and you cooked a wonderful meal. I know that because we had a package, you and I, you performed the cook, or you performed the cuisine, and I performed the music. But even with the pandemic, you've been managing to stay very busy. You've created high-end, intimate meals, and I have to mention your partnership with the local travel company, the Coconut Traveler. Can you tell us more about this venture?
Yeah, this is very new. It's very new, but I already did a dinner, high-end. Our people rent mansion. It was the case what I did in Kailua, a beautiful house on the beach, and I cooked dinner for the family. It was 8 people, and so on the package, you rent the house, and you have Chef Mavro cooking for you one night or 2 nights, or doing party and doing events. So it's what.
And I understand that you're very active. People can check out Chef Mavro's Instagram as well as Facebook. Of course, I have to look at them because I'm not on social media, so I don't know what the platforms are. Sorry, Dave.
That was excellent. Yeah.
Chef, tell us also, you've been on very interesting trip. I understand someone would fly you to Japan and to cook. I don't know, it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, in fact, what I'm doing, what I plan to do, because I need to cook. I cannot stay like that. I was supposed to be in France, but now I'm here. I have to do something. And yes, it's what I did all the time. And even a very good customer of Chef Mavro hired me to celebrate his 25th anniversary in Tokyo. And He's a very, very wealthy man, and he invites 50 people. First, he buy out half of the hotel, the whole hotel, half of the hotel, to make sure he has privacy, and for 50 people. And I have to cook with my team breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 2 weeks, for 10 days, a little bit less than 2 weeks. So it was, and he was in Tokyo. It was a fantastic experience. And of course, the hotel closed a part of the hotel just for us. It was a restaurant, so they give me the restaurant. So I transport my part of my team to Tokyo, and I did that not only this time, many times. So this is what I do, and I continue out of the restaurant business.
Do you feel that sometimes, because we get that comment in classical music, that sometimes people don't, because they're not always immersed in classical music, that they lose the flavor of classical music, and so it's something they have to require sometimes. Do you feel that some around the world, doesn't matter if it's Hawaii or on the mainland or in Europe or in Asia, that sometimes diners are drawn to some type of cuisine, and you wish you could tell them, you know, that's not all there is. There are other kinds of music, not music, but cooks or cuisine, food, that maybe you should start enjoying more than having a regular, I don't know, you know, having your own fill in the blank every single day from prepackaged food. I don't know.
Okay, I spent my career doing avant-garde cuisine. And I don't know, just spending 1 year cooking at home, and cooking at home in my home or cooking on a mansion for people, I just feel like if I have, I don't know, to me it's a big change. And I feel like if I have to go back in a restaurant, if tomorrow I have to open a restaurant, I'm going to do something so different, so different. First, I cannot stand, this is very serious what I'm going to say, I cannot stand presentation on a plate anymore. You know that, the bing, bang, boom, I cannot do that anymore.
The little umbrella in your drink.
The little umbrella, a flower. Do you eat the flower? How come you put flour on? I mean, how come you put flour on your plate? You don't, nobody eats flour. I mean, oh, it's so nice. Screw you. It's so nice. If I open a restaurant tomorrow, it's going to be totally different. I'm not going to plate anymore. I was ready already. We Chef Mavro more and more like the salt crust. Step aside. Yes. I bring the fish to you, and I cook and I put on your plate, and it's no blah, 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 blah. You understand?
Yes, absolutely.
And I was already going to this way, doing a risotto à la minute with fresh truffle, bring the risotto to your plate, slice the truffle on the top of your, no presentation, nothing. And this is for sure, then if I had to open my own, which I don't think so. But we never know. Huh? I'm not going to plate anymore. Nothing. I'm going to put the real food coming.
Something authentic.
Authentic, but it has to be fresh. So my dream is I put everything on a skillet like that, and when it's ready, I put on a plate. Boom, the plate on your table. End of the story.
I want to ask this question, especially following that. You know, on previous shows, Iggy will talk about some of the violin soloists that will come in. It's always interesting to hear Iggy, as such a phenomenal musician, talk about other world-class musicians. Maybe with the context that we have, who are the chefs out there that you enjoy their food, their cooking, their presentation? Or
I think my job is so difficult that every single chef I know, every single chef succeed, deserve his success. Because let me tell you, it's not easy It's not easy. But to me, it's important to do what I do. I never, I was lucky to work with a 3 Michelin star restaurant, which is the best restaurant in the world. And I never cook one single recipe from Trois Gros. I never cook one single recipe from Sandorin's. I never duplicate anything. I think I have enough experience to do my own craziness, and I never duplicate anything in my life. Even when I have no clue what I was doing. Unfortunately, my first customer, what I put on the plate, he was, I don't know, now I cannot believe it. But, well, I was doing my own.
But where do you find the inspiration? Do you wake up in the morning, or do you like...
I think I have enough craziness in my mind that I can change my recipe every day and my menu every day, what I was doing. Mostly, one time, it was a menu of the day. And you come to the restaurant, this is a menu of today. Tomorrow is going to be different. So don't worry about that.
Dave, I never asked you, what is Chicago food known for? I mean, I can think of things, but things that you would buy at a baseball stadium. But
Sure. Well, I mean, if you're asking me, March 6th marked 1 year for me in Hawaii. Obviously, I've not been able to travel back to Chicago during this. And so if you're asking what one food I'm missing right now, it would be probably an Italian beef sandwich right now with some peppers on there and some good, Portillo's. That's what I am craving right now.
I think sandwich is not a word in Chef Mavro's
No, it's not true. Stop, it's not true.
No, okay.
When is good is good.
Oh, no,
No. It can be a sandwich. I cook at home, I do my own baguette.
Wow.
And we are doing the best sandwich in the world because the baguette is fresh, just from the oven. And I have a very nice
You must have a very deep oven.
No. Oh, baguette is like that.
Okay.
And I'm doing my own fougasse, my own bread.
What is fougasse?
Fougasse is a flat bread from Provence, with oil inside. It's flat. It's very special. It's delicious. And I'm doing fougasse also with black olive inside to eat with cheese. So simple cooking, most of the time is the best. But in Chicago, you have maybe the few best restaurants in the world.
Absolutely.
Not only in America.
Yeah.
And Grant Arzak is a totally unbelievable chef. Yeah, unbelievable. Everybody has in own category can be very, very extraordinary.
You were mentioning how you cook at home and it's a relaxing method to cook. But I have to tell the audience that your wife actually sent me a picture once of you having dinner at home, and you had your iPad and you were checking out concerts of the Hawaii Symphony Orchestra, the virtual concerts that we gave last fall. So we thank you very much for your support and your enthusiasm, your musical enthusiasm. I've seen you at concerts as well.
Thank you. Hawaii is all about sustainability. And sustainability with the product, but sustainability in music also. And if we don't have you, I don't know what is going to happen. I mean, we need, is why I try to be as supportive as possible. You need to preserve you. You are very precious, and very precious for me, but very precious for everybody, like quality. And I think that is why also I support HPR on the same way. And I need the news of HPR.
The news of HPR, yes.
Yeah, I need the news, I need the music, I need the whatever they do is always quality, always. And we need that. Which is why we can count on me anytime.
Well, thank you so
and
much.
to me, you are very precious.
Thank you.
We very much appreciate that. Thank you. Can I ask a few questions that we're getting in? I promise these are not my questions, but these are some good ones here. If you were to cook a meal that would be paired with, say, Ravel's Bolero or Stravinsky's ballet, what would you cook with that? What would that consist of?
Alors, this is funny because I did with HPR dinner with music pairing with my recipes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we sit down with the music director of HPR at this time, and Alain Richman.
Yeah, Alan Bunin? Or
No.
After that. Or
Oh
Jing
my God.
Chiller.
No,
No.
before. And before. And he was on time. He was 30. No, he was a chef Mavro already. So he was 22 years ago. And we did music pairing. So you can pair. I'm not the first one I've done that. This exists. We can pair food and music. And I remember we did a tasting menu. It was about 5 courses, and every I don't know. I think that if you do an appetizer, fresh appetizer with sometimes caviar, and so you have this kind of suddenly strong flavor. You don't need a musician. You don't need Corelli to do something like that. You need somebody strong and powerful, and also when if you cook something smooth, you might need the music, gentle music, etc. We did a very good job, and the event was very successful. Yeah.
Well, with audiences limited for live performances, we may have to go the restaurant tasting route here. So we may be reaching out very soon if the city doesn't change its rules for performances. So I want to get to our winner here tonight, and this is a name very familiar to us. The correct answer was indeed the Halakulani, and the winner was Helen from Punahou. Yes, absolutely. Helen, thank you so much for the correct answer. We have a bottle of wine. We promise it's a full one.
And I think, Helen, we are planning to have you on the show at some point. Anyway.
Oh, wonderful. The question that I like to end our show with usually is usually a relatively difficult one. What does the future look like for the Hawaii Symphony Orchestra?
I think I think that I experience. I'm going to the symphony almost every time. I miss a few because of my job. Sometimes it's not easy, but and I experience your difficulty. And where it was sometimes very, very difficult to survive. And
that was before Day's time.
Yeah, and this is a shame. Yeah, I think that you need the support of the whole population, and you need people that realize that to pay a ticket and to listen to the symphony or to go to the opera, and but especially the symphony, which is why I try not to miss, is an experience. And it is an experience about almost a spiritual nourishment of yourself. And so sometimes people, they don't realize that. And you have to communicate what you do. And of course you have to sell it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't come like that. But anyway, what you do is fantastic. And when you have people like Iggy, and of course I have a bias because he's my friend. But when you have people like Iggy as a concertmaster, you are in the right direction.
Absolutely.
And also to make sure everything you do is always quality and no compromise.
No compromise.
Please, no compromise.
I have one more question because I wanted to ask this earlier. A few words about your friendship. There's a mutual love of soccer, I understand.
A love is an understatement.
An understatement, okay.
So back in 2018, there was the World Cup in Russia, and sometimes, they had games in the afternoon in St. Petersburg. So in the afternoon in St. Petersburg means in Hawaii it was 4 a.m. So at 4 a.m., knock, 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 it's me knocking at the door of Chef Mavro's apartment. And Chef Mavro lives in a condo, so you have neighbors. And so we would start watching the game, France, Germany, Argentina, I think. And things are not going well, and then all of a sudden, France scores, and it's like 5 a.m. by then, and Chef and I are just like screaming at the top of our lungs.
You have to look at Iggy watch a movie. Iggy is like that, and he watch a movie. And myself, I'm screaming for anything, and it doesn't move. And suddenly France goal, and he jumped. He jumped from the couch to in front of the TV, screaming 10 times louder than I do. And at the end of the game, we couldn't speak anymore. We lost the voice. And this was 4 o'clock in the morning.
Well, you didn't get kicked out of the building, so that's good. Good for the neighbors. And Iggy, I really appreciate you suggesting to have Chef on the show tonight. It's a pleasure for me to get to meet you. I know how important you've been to this organization and to our future, and I look forward to sharing a meal together at some point and sharing music together as well as we get to the other side of this. Iggy, take us out this evening. Maybe in English for me. Oh, well,
thank you so much. As you know, we have special guests every week. They can be professional musicians. They can be amateur singers. C'est une chanson.
I'm not going to sing.
But we're so honored to have such inspiring guests every week. And Dave, we are very happy to have you as well.
Oh, thanks, Iggy. Good to be here.
Thank you for what you do. Thank you. And thank you for what you do for Hawaii. It's very, very important.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. We'll see you next week, 7:30 p.m. for Tuning Up with Iggy and Dave. Have a great week.
Life changed so fast.
During COVID, we've had a chance to think about what's really important in our lives.
The arts are an expression of what it's like to be human.
To feel, to help us make sense of our world. Does it mean anything if no one sees it?
Training and dedication are stronger than any virus.
We all need to express ourselves.
Keep doing the things that make you happy.
So when the lights come back up,
we'll all be ready.
For the last 24 years, your nonprofit Historic Hawaii Theater has helped millions of people explore and experience the wonder of music, theater, and culture. From school plays to Broadway shows, from the Brothers Kaz to the Beach Boys, we've transported you from Hawaii to the moon and back. Won't you become a member today and help preserve this last remaining historic show palace? Go to hawaiitheater.com. Become a member today. We can't do it without your support. Mahalo.